Hey guys, welcome to Koos Crochet. Today we're going to be doing a crochet follow along to my Ricky the Chicky pattern, which is a quick no-sew make. He's intermediate to beginner friendly and the perfect little Easter project, whether it's for market makes or just for a little gift for a friend or family. I'm going to put up some notes on the screen before we get started. I would say you can make this in any color of your choice, but what I'm going to be using today is we've got our yellow for the body. We've got our white for our eggshell. We're gonna need a tiny bit of orange. We're gonna need 12mm eyes. I use a 4.5mm hook, some polyfill, some scissors, and some stitch markers, and a needle. On screen now, we'll show a full list of all the abbreviations that I use throughout this pattern that you'll need to know. If you would like a PDF to follow along to, you can buy this pattern on my Etsy and my Ko-Fi. I'll put the links in the description below. Let's jump straight into it. We're gonna be starting off with our wings. Both of these are made exactly the same, so I'll just walk you through how to make one, and then just follow these same steps for the second one. We're gonna be using our yellow yarn. We're going to chain 7. We're gonna always be working into the second chain from our hook. We're going to do 1 slip stitch. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets. Then we're going to do 2 half double crochets. And then we're going to finish off this row by doing 1 double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn. Again, working into the second chain from our hook, we're going to do 2 double crochets. We're going to do 1 half double crochet. We're going to do 1 single crochet. We're going to do 2 slip stitches. Now you want to make sure the final slip stitch you do is right here in this corner bit, just to give the wing the point. Do our single crochet, and that will give our wing the point. We're going to do our final row. We're going to chain 1. We're going to turn. We're going to do 2 slip stitches. We're going to do 9 single crochets. Now, after you do 5 single crochets, you're going to end up back at this corner. Now, we're going to do our remaining 4 single crochets just down this side, and we're going to be finishing here in the corner. Cool. Now you can see we've got this nice curvy wing. We are going to fasten off, leaving a short tail. To help when we're connecting the wings later on, when they're crocheted in, we're going to take our stitch marker and we're just going to put our stitch marker in that last single crochet we've done. This will come into play when we're joining it. So just go ahead and make 1 more of these wings and then just put them to one side for joining to the chick later. Now we're going to make our beak. So throughout the beak, the instructions will be on the screen, and feel free to just crochet them along. And now we've got our little beak made. So we're just gonna put that to one side and it'll be crocheted in as we go. Now we're gonna make our eggshell section of the pattern. So we're gonna be getting our white yarn. The instructions will be on the screen to follow along up until row 10 when I'll do a bit more in-depth explanation of how we make the cracks in the eggshell, like so. So I've just finished off row 9 and I've put a few stitch markers in the back loops only. So I've marked the very first stitch there. Now that one's important, so make sure you remember what color is used for the very first stitch of the round in the back loop only, and then a few other ones around just to help us locate when we're going to be connecting the yellow yarn for the body. So you don't need ones around, that's just if you find that helpful. So for row 10, we're going to be doing the following steps 5 times. So I'll talk you through the first few steps and then just repeat that 5 more times. The entire row is worked in the front loop only. In the front loop only, we're going to do 1 single crochet. We're going to chain 2, In the second chain from the hook, we're going to make a slip stitch. In the next stitch on the body, we're going to be doing 1/2 double crochet. Again, that's going to be in the front loop only. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets. It can kind of help to just sort of flatten these out after you make them, these little parts at the top of the shell. And then we're going to chain 3. In the second chain from the hook, we're going to do a slip stitch. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet. Then in the next stitch on the egg, going to do 1/2 double crochet. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet. We're going to repeat that 5 more times to give us a total of 10 little spikes on our eggshells. Yeah, so we're going to be creating 10 of these spikes in total. So yeah, just continue those steps around. So we have now completed row 10, and we should have a total of 10 little spikes around. Now later on in the pattern, there'll be an optional step to sew these little white bits of the shell to the chicken's body. As you can see here in this example, I have sewed the shell down. Now, as this is a no-sew pattern, this is a completely optional step, and that is not needed. Otherwise, like the shell will just be like pointing down like this bit here, and that also works. So you can either fasten off the egg now with a regular short tail, or optionally, if you want to have this nice and flush to the body, you can leave a nice long tail for tacking it down later. So I will do that option just to show what that is like. So I'm going to leave a relatively long tail, then going to fasten off. And then just to kind of get it out of my way for working around, I'm just going to wrap it around the body there. Sorry, not the body, the eggshell. Nice, so now we're just going to stuff our eggshell, and then we're going to work on starting off the chicken. So we're going to grab some of our stuffing. Now, as you stuff it, you might want to just like push out the sides a little bit, especially if your tension tends to be a little bit tighter, just to sort of help with the shaping. If you want your chicken to stand, you could just put a little bit less stuffing in the bottom, and then he will stand. If you stuff it further, it'll be more of a point and more like eggy, or yeah, you can kind of just like leave a little bit of gap there, and then he will stand up. We're just gonna start stuffing the egg, but we don't want to stuff above these back loop only lines from row 9, because that's where we're gonna work into. And we'll continue to stuff as we work throughout the rest of the pattern, so just stuff as you go. So yeah, I'm just gonna stuff it to below that little line for now, and then we'll add some more stuffing as we go. We're gonna take our yellow yarn, and then we're gonna start on our chicken. I'll just show you how we join on and get that started, and then we'll just crochet along with the instructions on screen until we get to the more complicated bits. So during the pattern, we'll be crocheting our wings and our beak to the body. So none of these bits are sewn in. To get started on our body, we're going to locate the first stitch off the round of the back loop only from row 9. For me, it was this green stitch marker. So we're going to place our hook into the stitch with our yellow yarn. We're going to pull this through like so. So we've worked up our yellow hook. Then we're just going to, in that same stitch, we're going to make a single crochet. And yeah, it can kind of help just to pull that little tail that you started with down, and then work into the back loop only the whole way around here where we mark these stitches. And that is how we're going to join our yellow yarn to the body. The little slip stitch into there. And just, yeah, mark our first stitch as usual. Then, yeah, the rest of the first round is just single crocheting around in these back loops only. And then yeah, the rest of the instructions will be on the screen until we get to the more complicated bits of joining in the beaks and the wings and the beak. But yeah, the first 3 rows of the body, we're just going to be doing single crochets around, nice and simple. And this will make it look like our chicken is bursting out of his little egg and he's hatching. In the next round, we're going to be connecting our wings that we made earlier. I will show you how we do that and the position they need to be when we crochet them in. And this is round 6. So make sure you've got your wings nice and handy. We're just going to start off with doing 4 single crochets. After we do our 4 single crochets, we're going to be attaching the chicken's left wing. We're going to grab our wing and we're going to do a single crochet through the second to last stitch into the body and then one through the very last stitch. So this is where our stitch markers are going to come in handy. I should have mentioned as well when we make the wings, just to hide in these tails here. So that's pretty secure, so I'm just going to chop that off just so we haven't got that flapping around. Cool, so the placement of the wing is going to be like so. We're going to be working from the outside into the body. We're going to go into the second to last stitch right before the stitch marker. And then we're going to work a single crochet into the body. Push our wing just over to the side, like so. And then we're going to remove our stitch marker. And then where our stitch marker was, we're going to go through the wing, and we're going to go through into the next stitch on the body and complete our single crochet. Now to make the wing just a little bit more secure, I like to just continue to crochet through this tail on the other side, just to make it a little bit more secure. And then you'll see our wing will be placed just like so. And after we crochet our first wing, we're going to do 9 more single crochets before connecting our second wing. And we're going to keep that tail. So yeah, 9 single crochets. After our 9 single crochets, we're going to grab our second wing. And now we want to make sure it's going to be placed like so. So it'll stick up. The first single crochet we do is going to go through the stitch marker. Again, this little tail, you can weave it in or just chop it off, whichever you prefer. Now we're going to go through the stitch marker. And then we're going to go into the body. And this tail that is left, so that's off the first wing, just stick that inside. This tail, drag it round from that side so we can then tuck it in. Just pull that little tail, make sure that's nice and tight. And then we're going to find the stitch just right next to that one. We're going to go through the stitch on the wing. And then 1 single crochet into the body. So now we're just going to do 9 more single crochets around just to complete this round. And we'll see what the wings are looking like. So at the end of row 6, we're going to have a total of 26 stitches. And this is what our wings are going to look like. And there we go. So it'll be a bit like floppy at this stage, but you'll see once our chick is completed, they're a bit more solid and won't be moving around quite as much. We're just going to continue on with the rest of the chick's body until we get to the row where we're going to connect in our beak. One point that's really good to mention is as we're going to be working up now, we're going to be getting to the cheeks. Once we start getting to the cheek part, we're going to want to make sure that they are really stuffed so they stick out like so. Because Ricky the Chicky has quite the chubby little cheeks. This is what our Ricky should be looking like after row 10. Now in rows 11 and 12, we're going to be connecting our beak across those 2 rows. So I'll just walk through how we're going to do that. So we're going to do 3 single crochets to begin with. We're going to do 1 decrease. Then we're going to do 4 half double crochets. Going to do 3 single crochets. And now this is where we're going to start connecting in our beak. So with our beak, we were left with 6 single crochets at the end. In this round, we're going to be working from the inside of the beak into the body of 3 of those stitches. And in the next round, we'll be working through the last 3 that are on there. So we're going to take our beak. We're going to go from the inside out. So I'm just going to go through this one here. Then we're going to go into our body. We're going to go to the next stitch on our beak. Going to go through the beak from the inside and then out into the body. And just grabbing that tail behind. We're going to do 1 more stitch. And then 1 more time from the inside of the beak in through the body, grabbing that little tail. And that is all the stitches we're going to connect off our beak in this round. So be looking like so. And then we're just going to finish off the rest of row 11. Cool, for row 12, we're going to do 3 single crochets and a decrease twice, and then 1 single crochet before we start reconnecting the beak. So we'll just do that first. So now we've done that, we're going to do our 3 stitches through the remaining stitches of our beak into the body. This time we're kind of working more from the outside of the beak to the inside. we go. So we're going to grab our stitch. I'm going to grab our next body stitch. We're going to find our next stitch on the beak, back into the body, and the same with the remaining. And that is how our beak is joined. So then we're just going to finish off the rest of that row, doing 1 single crochet. So after row 12, you can see we've got our beak nicely attached. Now this is where you're going to want to work around and make sure the back of the head is nicely stuffed and these cheeks are very well stuffed outwards. But yeah, that is our beak nice and attached. So yeah, we're just going to work on the rest of our little Ricky now. But you can see he's getting very close to the end now with those nice no-sew features. After row 16, we're going to insert our 12mm safety eyes just above the beak, about 3 visible stitches apart, just like this little guy. So let's go ahead and do that. So that is the placement we're going to be looking for with our safety eyes. After this stage, you just want to make sure your head is very nicely stuffed and again that our cheeks are poking out a little bit before continuing on with the rest of the pattern. In our final round, we're going to be creating these little hair tufts on our Ricky. Firstly, we're just going to do 2 decreases. Then we're going to chain 3. In the second chain from our hook, we're going to do slip stitch. In the chain after that, we're going to do a single crochet. And then in the front loop only of our last stitch, we're going to do a slip stitch. And then just repeat that step 2 more times. Once we've created our 3 little hair tufts, we're going to fasten off, leaving a tail to close. And then, if needs be, just add in our final little bit of stuffing before we close. Perfect. So now we're going to take our needle and then we're going to close just by weaving in and out of our front loops only. We want to make sure we're working around, just leaving these little hair tufts on the outside. So go through there and then there. So that's 2. We're just going to skip our little hair bit. Like so. And then we can see our next 2 stitches there. Just make sure that your yarn strand is just lifted above the little hair tuft. So yeah, that's 4 now in total. And then our final 2. And then we just pull closed. Now, our little Ricky hairpiece is complete. See, there we go, yeah. And then just hide our remaining tail just inside of the body. If you chose not to do the optional step of tacking down the eggshell, then congratulations, your Ricky is now complete. I really hope you enjoyed making this guy. But if you want the final version to have the little eggshell tack like this, and you left your remaining tail, I'll just show you quickly how to tack that down, and then your Ricky will be complete. I hope you enjoyed following along and making Ricky with me. I've also made a little Easter bunny pattern, which I'll have a tutorial next, and that's due to be released very soon. Actually, by the time this video is up, it will be released, so yeah, check that out. Cool, we're going to go into the body, just behind here. Pull that through. We're going to go through the tip of this little eggshell section. And then go back in to where we just came out of. Line up your next little eggshell bit where it'll be. So mine will be about there. So yeah, put your needle back in through where we just took it out. Then we're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna go through the tip of the eggshell. Pull that tight. And then we're gonna go back into the body where we just came out of. We're gonna line it up with our next little eggshell top and just repeat that until every little bit of your eggshell is tacked down. After you finish tacking your little eggshell around your Ricky's body, he is now complete. Thank you very much for following along today and making your own Ricky. I hope you enjoyed making this pattern just as much as I enjoyed designing the pattern and crocheting Ricky along with you today. I have an Easter bunny version quite similar to this little pattern that will be being released soon along with another tutorial on my channel. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that one. And please like this video and leave any comments and suggestions you have below. And yeah, until next time.